and Jim will come around and help you, or Barry will come and help you. So we're going to go ahead and get started here since we do have a limited amount of time. My screen's going to look a little bit different. I do have the R5 upgrade. I know some of you are still on 4.6, and you'll be getting the upgrade over the next couple, or either today or tomorrow, and the training will be tomorrow afternoon here in the same location. Yeah, Force will look the same, but Notes is going to look quite a bit different, the user interface. This is not the... I set this up for you for the 4.6 environment, so it looks pretty much the same here. The first thing we're going to start out with is replication. Since I know many of you haven't replicated the database, it can take quite a long time from what I hear remotely. The numbers I've heard have been 4 to 6 hours. It'll take much less time here today than that. After you get your initial replication taken care of, it should go much more quickly when you replicate. Just the first time it's going to take a while. If you get to your Force tab, if you want to create a replica of, say, the sales management database, you would first click on the button or the icon to select the database here on your Workspace tab. Up under your File menu in the top left-hand corner, we're going to go down to Replication. And we'd be creating a new replica if you haven't done this yet. If you already do have a local replica created, this isn't going to be what you want to do. I'll show you the other option in just a moment if you want to create or update your replica here. So you click on New Replica. You're going to take the defaults with the exception of Create here. We're going to create it immediately if you haven't done so already. So it's going to be a local copy of the Force Sales Management Database called Force NSF. Select Immediately, and then Replication Settings over on the right. This setting will help speed up the replication process as well. The option I want to point out here is where it says Receive Summary and 40 kilobyte documents are of rich text only. What that means is that all the attachments aren't going to be coming along with it. It's just going to be the text. So you'll want to select the Receive Summary and 40K of rich text. Click OK. And then when you click OK at this point, in the replication process, I want you to go ahead and do that. I'm going to stop at this point. I've got a local copy that I can do anything I want to without destroying the real thing out on the server. So I want to make sure I don't mess anything up.
How would you know if you already have a local copy?
If you already have a local copy, let's see. I'm going to cancel. On your Force tab here, you would have, well, one of two things. You'd have two buttons, one called Force Sales Management, and then Local in parentheses. Do you have that there? Okay. Yes?
Do you go into Islands Connected or Office?
No, we want to be an Office net or Office. What is it? Office Network here. How's this working for everyone? Still not connected there? Well, for those of you who haven't got the replication going, anyone here have it going? Is replicate? Is it?
I already read it.
It's already done? Okay.
Oh, I didn't do it today.
Go over the replication. For those of you who already have a replica on your local machine, how to update that replica. On your screens, because you have R4, if you have R4.6, you'll have a replication tab across the top. In R5, there's a replicator button on the left side. They bring you to the same location. On your replicator tab, you should find, well, you should have your Force in here, ECPDX1, Force, desktop. If you have your Force database here, you want to make sure that the check is selected. You should have the double arrows off to the right. Those are just showing the direction of the replication. Here it's going to be going both directions. Oops. If you click on the double-headed arrow, at the bottom of the screen it says Receive Full Documents. Again, to speed up the process, if you click on the down arrow there, we've got Receive Summary and 40K Rich Text. So another option that's going to help speed up the replication process so you don't get all the large attachments that go along with each record. Click OK, and in the top left-hand corner, you'll find a Start button that'll start the replicator.
Area for the fourth database up there if you have replicated to a local?
Would you like? You want to see a local copy of?
Will it appear?
On that page?
Yes.
If you have a local replica, there will be a line there
Yeah.
on that page
Okay.
that says, yes, it's there.
On my machine, I've set it up a little bit differently. Since I'm not actually making sales, I didn't want to destroy the database out on the server, so I have a copy locally on my machine that's not being replicated to the server. How are we doing with this? You having a problem getting a connection there?
We got to set it to automatically get an IP address.
Yeah,
we're not
just
using
having
it.
IP.
Just go ahead. We'll
Okay, I'll go ahead and continue on. Again, I want to make myself available to anyone. Anyone who has any problems with force or anything, I'm a good person to contact. If I don't have an answer, I can certainly track one down for you. So if we don't get this to work today, yes. Are you getting a green light on your connection over there on the right where you're plugged in? Do you have a green light? Okay, so you are getting connectivity. It's an issue within Notes then. Yes. The sales management database is the one that you're primarily going to be using for contact management. It's not an option on there. Do you have the desktop there? Is desktop an option there? Okay. I'll just point out, if you go into the desktop, yes. Okay, you've got a copy on local. Yeah. I'll have to come back. Barry, can you help her out here? She's trying to get a copy of the database locally. Okay. We doing well enough with the replication to go ahead and continue on? Again, we do have a limited amount of time here, so I'm just going to keep on moving through this since we do have quite a... Yes, Mitch.
There's a good portion of people here that are like in New York and LA and whatnot that have a hard time, replicating anyway.
Right.
The thing you can set up there regarding 40 rich text, that's great for the guys that just come right back to the land and get the full text from the land and the airport and get back to the office. That wouldn't necessarily be a good thing for people
To turn off the 40K?
Yeah, you'll never get your whole document.
Never get the
You never
attachments?
go back to a land connection. So I just pointed that out to the group. That's great for people in Portland to do that when you're in the airport and you're in a hurry. But
Right.
these guys, if they do that, that's not going to
Okay. Yeah, Mitch brought up a good point with the limiting the rich text to 40K. It is great for you if you're here in Portland, but if you're in New York and you choose to set that, you're not necessarily going to get all of your documents, is what he was saying.
Well, yes, you won't get complete documents, but the documents that you won't get with that setting is that you won't get the very large email documents out there with all of the attachments, which in many cases you don't need, and we'll talk about that more later. However, most force documents are less than 40K, so you will get the vast majority of all the contact information, certainly all the company address information and the activity records and things. So you won't be missing much, and you will get most everything that you do need. And anything that, if there's a particular document that did get truncated because of that 40K, you can always go in and just say, I want the complete document on this one when you have a connection, either dial-in or whatever. bring down the whole thing. So if you select that option to only get 40K, you're not limited to that forever and ever. You have total control over when you want to retrieve the entire document.
Maybe you can go for that example. That might be helpful.
Okay.
So, replication aside, then we're going to go ahead and get into the Force database, go over a few things inside of the Force database here. I'm going to go into a local copy. Let's see.
The difference between Force V6 desktop and local and sales management?
The desktop is a tool that has just some quick tools or quick links to various databases and tools available. We can get into the sales management database here using the sales management icon in the Go-To section. I don't know if you've worked with this tool before, but it's just a good starting point to get into a number of different areas within Force.
It's a graphic launch layer on top of the 4 or 5 Force databases that just makes navigating among them easier. If you only get into the main database, you can always just go into Force.
I'll close out of this.
It's a separate database that you may or may not have.
Your Force desktop database. And if I recall correctly, once you're in Force, the menu button down at the bottom left-hand corner will launch it. So let me just go into the sales management. So I use that as a launching point to get into my sales management database inside of Force using the desktop. At the bottom of your navigation pane on the left here where you see the menu button, that will launch the Force desktop for you. So that's one way to get it up there. And as a result of launching that, it will create an icon for you out on your workspace page. That'll stay there from that point on. So yeah, if you haven't worked with that desktop, that's something that you might want to explore. It's got all of the tools that you have within Force as far as creating a new company.
It doesn't add any additional major functionality, but it's convenient. So.
I do want to emphasize Force is just another notes database. Within it, we have the same features that we have in any other database. We have the form. The form is where you see the brackets. The brackets where you plug in your data. From the form, it's created a document. So that's anytime you open up an item inside of Force, you're looking at a document that's been created as a result of a form. And then we have views, different ways of viewing the information for tracking down records quickly and easily. Probably familiar with some of these. If I wanted to look for a company by name, choose company by name as my view. Has all the companies listed alphabetically so you can quickly go through each of them. Within them, same type of layout with the twisties on the left side, the arrows indicating that there's a hierarchical structure here with sub-items, subcategories. Yes? Trying to get Barry's attention?
Yeah.
Back one there. So there's really nothing new as far as the way that this is put together. I think the big differences are going to be the navigator pane on the left and the way that's put together. But as far as the database, it's just another notes database.
Are you on the local copy or are you on the server copy?
Yes, I'm using the local copy, so when I make changes here, I'm not going to destroy anything. There's no replication between my local copy and the server, since I'm not going to be doing anything in here that really matters. The sales that I make up in here aren't really going to happen at Enron. So.
Should the people here be in a local environment or the server?
Actually, for you, it's going to be the same either way. Since replication's been set up on yours, any change that you make locally is going to replicate up to the server, and vice versa. So here, it's not going to make any difference which one you use. I would say don't plug anything in there unless you mean it, because it is going to stay there. Even though you create an entry in Force, you're not going to have permission to remove that entry from Force. That's something that would have to be done up at an administration level. But as far as exploring, it's not going to make any difference which copy you're on here. Okay. So are we comfortable with the concept? This is just another notes database then? Okay. Within Force, your navigator buttons on the left are going to control the information on the right. I'm going to start out with creating an item within Force. Can you hear me here? Okay. I'm going to start out by creating a company within Force. There are a couple of ways that you can do it. One of them is to use this document button. Within the document, we can create a new company or a new company quick entry. The difference between the two, the new company quick entry is going to have information about not only the company but also contact information as well. So you can enter information about both at the same time instead of having to create the company. Then once you've done that, create a contact separately. I'll show you both ways. I'll create a new company with a quick entry. All right. Are you aware that the red diamonds in here mean that it's a required field? Okay, red diamonds are required fields within the Force database. Those you have to plug in. There's an awful lot of room for information in this database. You don't necessarily need to fill it all in. You do want to fill in as much as possible. Bare minimum, make sure you get the red diamonds filled in for this.
You can't proceed if you don't.
Correct.
It's safer without those.
You need to have those filled in. Correct.
However, do you know that for those required fields, if you have that field selected and you just hit the space bar, it'll, whoops, and you hit the space bar, what's wrong? It'll give you the list of all the fields, and if you just type the first letter, if you know what the valid values are, just type the first letter, it'll fill it in for you.
All right, so this is going to be, we'll make it, Barry's going to have his own ISP. Uh-oh.
I'm not competing.
What's that?
I'm not competing with anyone.
Okay. Like Barry said, you can either start typing in the first letter of the item here, or you click on the down arrow and choose from a list of items within it. So Barry's market segment, he's an ISP, company phone. Again, I'm not going to fill in all of these, but certainly the more information you have in each of these, the better off you're going to be. Can anyone tell me what's the reason behind Force? Why do we fill all of this out? Sharing information. If I was in charge of Barry's account and I had to move on, do something else for some reason, someone needs to be able to take over the accounts that that I put together on Barry. The more information you have in Force, the better off the person coming in after you is going to be when it comes time to start interacting with your contacts here and the companies. So you want to make sure you get as much information in here as possible. Company comments. Clicked on the little plus there. It puts in a timestamp, my first name, last initial. Great ISP. Website if you want. Contact name.
The value of putting the website in there is great because as you open the documents, there will be a little button left, for example, next to the contact. And if there's a website, you just click on the button and it'll just launch your browser and take you right to that company's website. And the same thing if you put in an email address there, there's a little button on the contacts. Just click the button and instantly you're composing an email to the guy. So
If through your remote access, you have access to the internet. Not everybody, in fact, can get to the internet via their remote access.
right, yes, of course, if you have internet access.
So if you're working here in the office, it's great.
Right.
Or is it possible to make email the required field? Address?
To make email, yes, we could make that change.
Can you do that for us?
Right now?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, when I get back. Okay.
Yeah, but I like that field.
Very handy. I mean, is not email the primary means that you contact people? Does anybody use fax more than email? Okay.
I'll just put in. We'll put you wherever, Barry. From this location, you can also set up callback information. The plus here plugs in default information for your call. It plugs in a date. What's that? Approximately 5 days out, 4 or 5 days out. It puts you in as the assignee. You can put in anyone that's in this list as the assignee to make the callback, so it's not just the person who's entering in the record. You can plug in an optional time here if you want. What are we talking about with responsibilities here? Sales regions. General locations.
And that list of regions is what we came up with. If there are other ways of categorizing things, just let us know and we can get other values in there.
Okay. Account managers. Why don't we put Mitch in charge of this one? We'll let Mitch also be the sales rep, just for kicks. Addresses. You've got a checkbox here. If you want the information or the address to be different for the company and the contact, you put a check in the box. It creates a separate contact address box down below. So if they have differing addresses, just a matter of putting an X in the box here.
It doesn't treat them as a separate billing address. It's just basically a street address and a mailing address. I mean, if the mailing address is the billing address, yes. If it's important to record that, yeah, you can have them either the same or separate.
Will anything ever come from here for billing? We set them up, they're a prospect now, 2 months later, they're a client.
Well, we don't have a direct interface from this data system to the billing system. Do we have a billing system now? But yes, this system would be the initial point of entry. So to the extent that you can make this accurate data, we will try to look here first to get address information. So yeah, try to get it right, and that'll save problems later. I mean, it could very well be that the addresses you put in here will flow into the system for the initial billing stuff. So
Is it accurate to say we're not sure yet, still to be determined?
it is accurate to say that, yes. Although, I mean, the Force repository is really our primary repository of contact and company data right now. So when we start loading the initial database of the real billing system and all that stuff, we will certainly look here to do an extract.
Barry,
first.
won't that be SAP?
Yes, it'll probably go into SAP.
So
Yeah.
can this feed into SAP from the standpoint of the company information?
We have to write a little conduit to make that happen, but also keep in mind that the set of companies that is now in Force, the actual subset of real paying customers is quite a bit less than the 2,500 companies here in Force now.
But growing all the time.
Growing by the minute, right, Mitch?
That's what we said, yeah, let's use a bigger scale. Yeah, my only curiosity point with that is that there are a lot of clients, I mean, I have one that is close and they have 4 different offices, and I may speak with people in 3 of them, and I may put my primary in there, and I want to make sure later on that billing doesn't pull the wrong one and we look.
In Force, basically, you have a basic company record, but you can have multiple location records related to a company. So location records is something that's not being heavily used right now, but for those companies that have multiple locations with different billing addresses, definitely create location documents as subsidiary to the companies, and then you can associate contacts at particular locations if you want. That flexibility is built in. So when you need it, use it. Yeah.
Contacts to one location. So you have a sales rep, CEO, all the different levels.
Well, using the screen that Eric was showing right there, that's for the initial load of a new company. You can create one company and one contact at that point in time. When you want to create additional contacts, there's just a standard procedure for doing that, which we'll show.
Yeah, I'll come back to that in just a minute. We'll take a look at both locations and contacts.
Good question.
Just continuing on, we're almost done with this form. Mailing, we've got a street address and then also a mailing address. If the address is the same, there's a drop-down arrow here that'll automatically plug in the information from the section above. The last box at the bottom of the screen include opportunity. If you put an X in the box, it brings up the opportunity window. Now, how many of you are currently using the opportunity window? Parts of it work for what we're doing, but other parts of it aren't very well geared towards the sales that we're making here at Enron.
The opportunity documents is really the key to leveraging Force, not only just as a contact management tool, but as a forecasting tool also. The opportunity documents is where you actually start putting some dollar amount saying, this is the deal I'm working on with these people, this is what it might be worth. And then there's a whole opportunity forecasting subsystem. But if you don't create those opportunity documents, none of the forecasting stuff that's built into Force is going to be usable. So it's really important.
If you haven't worked with these, it's pretty straightforward as far as the information that you plug in, the opportunity name, who's the main contact. If you click on the drop-down arrow, I haven't defined a contact for this, but if you click on the drop-down arrow, it'll bring up a list of contacts within the company that you can choose from. Plug in a phone number, the stage in the cycle, qualification proposal, negotiation. Do you want to add it to the forecast? Is this something that's going to happen? Do you want it to show up as part of the forecast? The status of it, is it pending? Is it a win? Is it a loss? So is the sale final on it? Yes,
and
no?
If you actually follow through at the end of the cycle for an opportunity and mark it as a win or a loss, then Force will there's a separate database that's this win-loss analysis database. So if you actually follow through and mark them, then we can start building some statistics about what's successful, what's not successful. And the opportunity name field is really an arbitrary field where you can put in like a specific marketing campaign name or whatever you put, and then that information will be carried over to the win-loss analysis so that we can start doing some systematic analysis of that stuff.
And Barry, is this whole area required? I mean, April, I know the reports that you get from your salespeople, they usually include this information in there. It almost seems like this ought to be required when you set up a company.
Yeah, the Windows and dark fiber opportunities, there have been a number of those added, but there are not that many for the other products. So,
but all the sales reports for the other products include this information. So why not make it mandatory when you set up a company that this becomes required information?
And we can add this opportunity to companies that are already.
Yes, you don't need to create the opportunity at the time you create the company, but as Joe says, that would be a good thing. However, you can always, for any company in the Force database, you can always create another location, another contact, an opportunity at any time. So do that. As opportunities come up, post them in here, and then you can get nice credit for doing that. So.
The idea is that this will replace those reports that we've been doing.
But if you put in a company without the opportunity, why is the company going in there if there's no opportunity?
That's exactly right.
And so why, if you set up a company, why isn't it required to fill out the opportunity? So at least it causes you to think about what is the opportunity, what's the probability I give it?
Well, there's a lot of companies that were in there. They were loaded from trade shows where they're just casual people stopping by.
Yeah, but I think we got to get out of the context of, gee, somebody gave me a card to their prospect. I have no idea what they do, who they are, or what the probability is. They're not a prospect. I mean, they're a business card at that point.
Right. Good point.
Then again, there's no limit how many opportunities you can have for one contact.
No.
You can have 50 of them.
Right.
And each one can have its own stage, its own status, its own dollar amount, its own product, whatever. Do you want to show the probability calculator?
Yep, the probability calculator here. Just a matter of clicking in some radio dials.
Or we can relabel that improbability calculator if you want to.
Basically, you just come through here. Are they evaluating the product? Yes or no? Has it been budgeted for the company? Yes or no?
It's a way of making those percentages more objective rather than subjective. By everybody answering the same questions for each company, it sort of tries to level the results.
Yeah. You got two options for each line. It's either yes or no for each of them. So we've got time frame. Was it greater than 90 days or less than 90 days? Competitive thread. Are they an economic buyer? This is under the influencer approval. Is the user a buyer? Technical evaluator? The progress. Has there been a demonstration? Have you identified the need and fit? Has there been a request for a proposal? And then final negotiations. And for each one of these radio dials you click in, it calculates a percentage, so gives you the calculated probability of 50%. Here's what I have with these circles checked. Expected close date, it plugs in a date 1 month out by default. The actual close, It's a pretty standard notes date box. You click on it. It's got a drop-down box here when you click on the number 16 here, the calendar date, so you can choose an actual close date. The bottom part of this is one that really doesn't fit very well at this point just because of the unit. It's designed to be, what was your description? So many widgets at a certain price, requiring an item number. Since we don't really have any of this set up right now, the bottom section doesn't work very well. We met with GWI, who are the people who create the Force database, just last Friday, and it was mentioned, at least we brought it up to them, the possibility of maybe customizing this so it does work with what we do.
So item number, unit price, that stuff doesn't really apply to a lot of what we do. However, you can add line items where there is a total dollar amount for the expected amount of the sale or wished for amount.
And it doesn't have to fit
Just a tad. I'm not seeing where I can create an opportunity with a company that already exists.
Okay, we'll get there.
Okay. Sorry.
You can.
As soon as we finish creating this company, we'll go ahead and create some opportunities and take a look at locations and some of the other items that have come up as well.
You know, Barry, just so they can see that it is possible, you want to go in and look at an opportunity that's there. Because, you know, what we did is we just kind of forced it to make sense. So if you want to look at one that, you know, maybe the other groups could maybe do the same thing. Because there is a way, I think, to force it to do something.
Yeah.
Using this quick company entry really is a way of just with one big screen to blast out as much information as you can while everything's fresh in your mind and create the hierarchy, the basic hierarchy for this customer. And virtually any place in Force where you see one of these drop-down windows, we can customize those keywords. Just tell us what you need. We want the categories to make sense for what you're dealing with.
I guess I do have to fill out all of these, don't I?
You can just type. Remember, because there is no existing contact.
Right.
So.
Stage and cycle. It'll be a proposal just for kicks. And
No, leave that blank for now.
okay.
Yeah. Okay.
That'll do it.
So just type a B.
Yep. To get to an item quickly and easily, just type in the first letter, the first few characters of the name of the company. Here's Barry's ISP. As far as creating, we'll go over some of those items now. Creating a new company, creating a new location. The way this is put together, the document button in the top left-hand corner, you can only create things that relate to the item selected on the right side of the screen. Just to show an example, under Bell South Long Distance, if I select Bell South Long Distance and...
Because that's a company.
Yep, it's a company. Select Create Document or the Document button. From this point, I can create a contact, a location, a new company. I can create a new company or with a quick entry or without at any time. It doesn't matter what I have selected on the right side of the screen. Or I can create an opportunity with the company selected. These items, the contact, location, and opportunity, all relate to a specific company. If I select a contact and then click on Document, I can create an activity record, a correspondence, email message, incident ticket, and then again, anytime I have anything selected, click on that new document or the document button, I'll have new company and new company quick entry available. So whatever you have selected on the right is going to determine what you can create with that document button on the left. So some of the things we went over, I selected the company. If I want to create a new contact, I can either double-click on Contact or click Contact and then OK. And I have all the same fields that I had available using the quick entry for the contact information. Does that make sense? So really, you just have to figure out what is it you're trying to make and what does it relate to. Does it relate to the company, to the contact? and then select the appropriate item and click on the document button. The same applies for the location. I might have one company with several locations. So click on the location option. Choose OK. Barry's ISP is the company. We have the type, department, division. I can choose a location here. This is something that shows up out in there. When it says location, I might just put a location in here as opposed to the word location. Let's say we've got one in, send Barry down to Las Vegas.
I was hoping for Hawaii, but that's...
Sorry. Maybe we'll open up another one for you.
Then you might want to show the different tabs across there.
Oh, okay. We've got details, responsibility. Again,
So you can customize the region or the account manager for a specific location if you want.
it's all the same information that we had with the quick entry, just broken down with the individual pieces of this instead of having it all at one time.
One other thing. If you are connected directly to the internet and you have, go back to the address button,
Okay.
and you have an address, see where it says View Map over on the right there? It'll actually launch the Yahoo Map function where it'll take that address and show you a street map of where that location is. So that's a very nice interface. So when you're connected to the internet, use that. And if you need to try to find where the heck they are.
Making sense to everyone? Okay, I think I already saved this. Close it. And now under Barry's ISP, we have the contact Barry Levine, or Levine, sorry. Las Vegas, Portland, Oregon here. Let's probably get rid of the Portland, Oregon piece of it for the address, but just make sure you have the right item selected when you click on that document button. Opportunities, contacts, they're all created the same way here.
Click on the location there that you just created, and then say Create Document. Just, whoops, close.
I'm going to close that.
Create Document button, yeah. So that you can create contacts again.
Within the location.
And it looks like you can also have opportunities related to a specific location as well if you want. So you can have opportunities associated with a company as a whole or a specific location if that makes sense. You should use the close button instead of the...
What's that?
You should use the close button above the form where, where it says close, save, print,
Okay.
rather than... Because sometimes they have formulas there connected with those buttons.
Any questions on this document button then? Again, the more time you spend in there, the more comfortable you become with it. Just spend some time playing around with this.
Do you want to pull up an existing opportunity document like Mitch suggested so we can see?
Yeah. Let's see what we
Let's go to an opportunity view.
Hey, there we go. So we'll go to opportunities. How about by account manager?
Let's see who's been busy. Yeah.
We want to go to Mitch, see what
Yeah.
Mitch has got?
Oh.
Hey,
There's ISP, look at that.
look at that, and Eric's ISP.
Click on a real one, click on,
Actually, only a couple of these aren't real, so some of these are going to be real opportunities. How about Sprint? Looking good, 90% for their dark fiber. So double click. Okay.
So you see that line item in the lower half of the screen where basically, so that 5028, what does that relate to?
what's that?
Under quantity, the quantity field.
That's fiber miles. So
Fiber-
what I
okay.
did is
So you're utilizing the quantity field for fiber miles because that makes sense for that product, for the dark fiber product.
Right.
For the other product, you guys should
come
kind
up with something.
consult amongst yourselves and figure out what you're going to standardize. I mean, you have a quantity field, you have an item description. An item number really is not that meaningful. Discounts? Do we give discounts? Nah, no discounts.
Actually, if you want to do a live one, I do need to edit that one. We lost this opportunity. If you want to actually do a real live edit.
On the real thing?
Yeah. So click on edit.
Okay, well, this isn't the real thing, but
No, but just to show how
Okay.
you update it. So you probably
Never actually had to do this before.
Okay, well,
And then we probably wouldn't want to add this to the forecast.
Well,
Or we might. So click on the yes, add to forecast. Probability now has been changed to 0 from the 90% as a result of changing that.
so click on the win-loss tab there. Let's see if they give you a place to. So yeah, so you can put in the factors. Why did we lose this, or why did we win this one, and then that information will be compiled into that win-loss analysis database, and hopefully over time we'll be able to see some trends of who the competitor was or whatever. What's that?
Well, I don't know. We need a new.
Okay.
No, cancel this. So just use the close.
No. But you can see that if you want to go to any of the forecast views, I mean, having those opportunities in there makes a wide range of statistical reporting immediately available to the management that wants to track out, what's looking good, what's not.
When I go to forecast and I select by account manager, nothing happens. I do not get this particular screen.
And are you looking at a local replica or the server line?
No, I don't have it on the replica.
Okay, let's do that. Here, click on the forecasts.
Well, I'm in forecast right now
Okay.
by account
I get
manager.
that screen.
He's out on the server copy, so
Hmm.
let's see. Go into.
I don't know. You should see it. I'll look at you. Keep going.
Okay, now I'm on the real thing. So forecasts by account manager.
Uh-huh. Well, you have to choose one. Ding, ding, ding.
Okay, so that did get you in there?
Yep.
Okay. Any questions on creating the opportunities, creating the new location, the contacts? Just make sure you have the appropriate item selected, and then use the document button in the top left-hand corner. I'm going to work my way down the navigation pane over on the left-hand side here, just so we can look at a few more items. I'll get back into company by name. The button's right below the document button. You familiar with these? If I wanted to create an email to send off to Barry, if I have the contact selected on the right side of the screen, this little envelope is going to bring me into an email box with Barry's address already plugged in. So you just have to type in a subject and then go ahead with the text. This also gets saved under the contact. So I'm sending an email to Barry under the contact name, Barry Levine. It's going to leave an email item or entry under there. You mind if I send this off?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
One point to keep in mind, though, is that if you're working offline and you create these email guys, when is that email actually going to get sent out to the internet? The next time you do a replication of your mail file. Okay? So
Insert your signature on that.
yeah, we've devised a way. If you have a little standard SIG file that you like to append, we have a little formula. Where basically we create a little macro button up in the top there, a little smart icon and give you a little file. So we wrote up a procedure for doing that. I'll send it out for people who want to do that. Yeah, that's a very good question.
Eric, does that email now show up in your sent folder on
No, it's just there in force. Okay.
And this is the one I created. Right under contact, Barry Levine has email message. You double-click on it, opens it up. Was the email sent out to all of them about the changes that were made in Force as far as attachments?
I don't know. I believe everybody should have received an email that I sent out last week where I mentioned a change that we're doing to this. And I actually applied that change over the weekend. So, as you know, when you're composing an email here in Force, you can attach file attachments just like any other email. What we were finding is that the same attachments are being sent out to to different companies over and over again, and the size of those files was causing big headaches for those of you who are replicating over a dial-up line. So I've made a change so that when you attach files to an email, and then when you say send, that email goes out to the guy with the attachments. It's all there. However, what I save in Force, I delete those file attachments, and I stick in a little line that says the following files were attached. Boo.doc, blah, emediacast.ppt, whatever it is, and so that there's a record of what files you sent out, but we're not actually saving multiple copies of those attachments in the email records. So that change is in effect now, as of last night when I did it from home in my bathrobe. That include all past emails? No, all of the existing ones that were already out there on the database are still there with the full 2 megabytes of file attachments. In a week or so, I'll go in there and start cleaning those up. Again, that won't, and that will make life better for new people coming in doing their first replication. But those of you who have already bitten the bullet and replicated all those copies, I mean, they're there. They'll disappear once I start cleaning it up. But
If you receive an email from a contact and you somehow respond to that and link it into Force, is that possible?
what a great question.
Yes, what a great question. The process, it's something that's been outlined in the handout that you have as well. As far as bringing it in, there is no easy way at this point in time to just bring the email right into Force. But what we do have is a workaround for it at this point in time. I'm just going to take a message. I'll take this one from...
Oh, that one.
Okay, just for kicks here. So, I'm going to take... What you're going to wind up having to do is copy the text from within the email. So you're going to copy it so it goes onto the clipboard in the background. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this.
The question is, you can use Force to send outgoing messages to the contacts. When they reply to those messages, where do those replies come? Into your standard inbox. So for documentation purposes, you want to record the receipt that you got back in Force. Okay?
Yeah, otherwise it only gets stuck in your inbox. There's no way to see that you ever received
Right. So this
email
is a way of
in
sharing
Force.
with your work group the fact that you got a reply, they're interested, full speed ahead, here's my credit card number, so you want to get that out there.
Control it.
Yeah, I did Control Shift End.
Edit, select all.
Yeah, there are a number of ways of doing it. You can click and drag once you're in it as well, and it'll select it. Once I've got it selected, I'm going to copy it. And with it copied, I'll return back to my Force database. Yep, you're going to copy it and then go back to Force. And then you have to...
So the contents of that email are now just sitting in your Windows clipboard waiting to be pasted somewhere.
Once we're in here, we're going to... You'll want to select the contact that it relates to. So you select the contact that it relates to, and we want to create a new email. Now, this is probably the most important piece of this.
The most important piece is don't hit the send button.
Oh, yeah. What I did is I got rid of the 2. I'm going to paste in the body of text.
Just Control-V, paste. Remember, it's just an object in your Windows clipboard like any other copy-paste.
And then give it a meaningful subject, since that's what's going to show up out in your view, in your company view. So this is...
email from a friend or whatever.
What did you do there? Just Control-V will paste it. Control-A is select all. Control-V is going to be paste. So if you think of Velcro there.
Well, you have to do select all, then Control-C, copy, or edit, copy. So select all is just a way of selecting the whole thing. Then you need to copy it into the clipboard with either Control-C or edit, copy. And then you can paste it.
Okay, Barry, here's my question.
Okay.
Now that fun change you did over the weekend,
Right.
my customer just sent me back his contract
Right.
in a big Word database. Now, did you strip off that thing when I
No.
gave it to this email?
The logic that strips off the attachments is only activated when you click the send button. So that when you get something, I thought of this, when you get something back in, you paste it in there. All you need to do is just to say close. And then it will save the attachment in there. Okay?
If you want to save this new document, tell it yes. And now under Barry, I have the email message.
So you just save it?
So you click on the close button. You don't want to click on the send button. Click on close. It'll ask you if you want to save the new document. You tell it yes, and then it adds or winds up as an email message with whatever subject you plugged in there. Okay. Does that make sense? There's no quick, easy way to just click a button in your inbox in Notes and have it automatically bring it into Force. So it's a little workaround that has been put together here.
Now, theoretically, we would have to make a customization to the Notes mail database design that would give us some sort of a button where you would want to say, you know, move this over to Force. It would bring up a browser showing all the various companies and contacts. You would say, I want it for that guy. And then, so, I mean, we can write the code to make that happen if we feel that that would be really a wonderful thing to do. But especially with everybody upgrading to version 5, we hesitate to make changes to the 4.6 mail template at this point.
You know, Barry, just one thing to point out. As everyone knows, you only have a certain amount of room in the mail database, right? You get to a certain amount of space, and then they kind of cut you off from saving it. I mean, that's, I guess, a way to force you to doing this. But again, all the salespeople like to have a kind of a nice little log of all the emails back and forth between the prospects. Well, if you do this, not only do you get that benefit, but you also have the benefit of all that stuff they send you and all those big files you can take right off your mail thing and put it in a nice, neat, tight package.
Making all the Force remote users have to download every single byte of all those packages.
So how do I get my response?
But at least your mail doesn't get full.
Pardon me? How do you?
I've copied it now into the contact location, and I want to respond to it and have that stay there too. So what do you do there?
Well, no, that's the same process of creating a new email message back to the contact.
Okay, but creating it without attaching everything, I mean, creating it in the same chain. You know what I mean?
In the same chain here. So if I wanted to reply to this, select the contact. I can just click on this little email button, and now I'm sending a message right back to Barry.
Got your proposal. Looks great. Are you ready to sign yet?
Yeah. So it's not a reply button like you would have in your inbox. You just select the contact and click on that email button.
You're just creating a new email message. Good question.
All right with the email? It's a little workaround, and again, the steps for bringing that into Force, they are in the handout that you should have had on each of your tables there. Okay. The next button is going to be just for adding entries to your calendar. If you have a meeting that you have to attend, I've got to meet with Barry. I click on the calendar icon, puts me into an appointment, detailed description, company name, the contact's name. Had I plugged in a phone number, the phone number for Barry would have shown up here as well. And then I can just type in a brief description.
Again, just creates an entry in your personal calendar.
So this is the Notes calendar. Just like any other, I mean, once you get in here, it's the same calendar features that you're dealing with if you go into your calendar and Notes.
So if we have connection tonight right now, that's just because the environment we're in here?
Yes.
The next button is for adding a comment or setting up a callback.
So this is a quick way of getting this information into a contact record without having to open the contact record and click edit. If you use that little shortcut button, instantly from this screen you can log a comment, set up a callback date and time, and then move on to the next one very fast.
So top half, click on the check. If this field or if this form had been blank when I came in, click on the check mark. It automatically drops in default information, the call. It puts in the name, the date and time. If you wanted a specific time, it's just something that you have to go in and set up yourself manually. It puts in a date by default, but not the time. Contact comments. You just click on this little button down here with the lines across it. Gives you three choices: contact comments, left voicemail message, or a time date stamp. So I clicked on the time date stamp there, puts in the time, the date, and then first name and initials. And then from there you can type in anything you want as far as comments go.
Where was that button again that got you there?
Right here, under contact comments, it's this square button with the lines across it.
You mean the button that actually brings up this dialog box?
Okay, it's the one out here with the exclamation point on it. So you select a contact and then click on the exclamation point.
Really, this is a great tool. Everybody should be familiar with this and use it a lot. It's very handy.
I've seen a number of users that go into this. They go in by selecting the person's name or the contact, and then go into either document, or I've seen a number of other ways of getting into the same location. This is probably the quickest and easiest way of getting in there.
Do you want to show clearing out?
Oh, yeah. To clear out the callback information, you've got this red X over on the left. You click on the red X. Do you wish to clear callback information? Tell it yes, and it'll wipe it out. Just cleans the slate. And then to set up a new one again, just click on the green check mark. It plugs in the default information. Okay. We've got a fax form. If you click on the next button, it looks more like a cup of coffee to me than anything else. But if you click on this button, choose a fax cover style. We have contemporary, custom, or professional. Just use professional for kicks here. Click on OK, and it pulls up a fax form or a fax cover sheet with some default information, who it's to, the from. If you had a fax number plugged in, the fax number would go in there by default. Carbon copy information, number of pages.
And the model here is that you just basically fill out the information and print it, and that becomes your cover sheet that you're going to. No, we don't have that set up yet, although we will be having a fax server connected to email probably within the next couple of months, and that'll work for both outgoing and incoming faxes. So you'll be able to send faxes from your email, or hopefully receive incoming faxes too. We'll have special numbers set up for that. But that's not in effect yet. Yeah,
why is it taking months to get a fax server? I mean, that should not take
because
months.
we're busy little people over there, and there's a zillion things going on. And it is on the list. We have a machine that we're building right now, and we're testing out a couple of different products. So it's in the works.
Any way we can edit the professional one?
What aspect of it would you want edited?
The address to match our office where we're located.
That's a good question. Shoot me an email, and I can create multiple
We can create a custom
cover sheets for different locations, and it'll just make it available out there. So yeah, send me the addresses that you would like on cover sheets, and I will create additional ones. Easy to do. So we'd say, professional Las Vegas, professional Harrisburg, or whatever.
That's great.
And then the last button there, don't believe it's been set up yet at this point anyway. Has it, the call?
No, this is a phone dialer thing. This is something that Force added in there. Some people have, they like to actually use your computer as a phone dialer, and so there's a little phone dialer program where you click on that button and then it will actually, but it's kind of hokey.
I did hear from our Lucent rep that we're going to get a new Lucent phone system that'll be a IP-enabled phone system, so you can dial right from there.
So
Okay.
maybe something available in the
soon,
future
yeah.
then.
Yeah.
Right.
Do we know that, or is that just Lucent's?
That's Lucent telling us that.
Okay. We doing all right with this so far? Do the views make sense? I don't know if you spent much time looking in the views here. Got a number of different options depending what you want to look at. If I want to look at companies, I can look based on a number of criteria. Companies by account manager, by country, by date and name.
And we can generate additional views if you have something else that you'd really like to see. It's not hard to do. We just need to know what you want. Also, let me make another point, is that the product has room to have additional fields added at the company and the contact level, so we can customize some stuff. So if there's some other bit of information that doesn't fit in an existing bucket, just let us know and we can create additional buckets for that. For example, we thought of maybe putting SAP numbers in there at some point. There's a number of things that we may wish to do. So let us know.
These buttons all work the same way. They just define the view over on the right side of the screen. What information are you interested in? Are you interested in contacts by name? I'm looking for a specific individual, so I choose by name. Who was it? It's not in there.
What's my last name? L-A-V.
Okay.
And again, this is a feature of every notes view in every notes database. When you're looking at a view, every view is sorted by something. If you just start typing, this is in any notes application, if you just start typing, it's assuming that you want to search by that. So if you just type an S or whatever, you'll go to the first S. Okay? And every notes database works that way. It's really a very fast way to navigate around.
One thing that I do want to point out let's see if I'll go to contacts by name. If I wanted to go to the company view and leave this contact selected, so I want to go back to company and I want to see Barry Levine's information. With the contact selected, you can hold down your control key, and I'm going to switch to company by name. And it brings me right to the item. Barry Levine is selected within my companies by name. That's something that's also in the handout. So it's a way to stay focused on the same person while you switch back and forth between views, or the same company as you switch back and forth between views.
And again, that works in every notes database too.
Okay, so I'll go back the other way. So I have Barry selected here. With Barry selected, I'm going to hold down my control key and then switch my view. All right, I'll switch to contacts. How about contacts by company name, just for something new, and click OK. Doing all of that while the control key is held down. And in the contacts by company name, it brings me to Barry's record.
And again, how did you get to that detail level? Because I'm still in it.
To get to this detail level, it's just a view that's available within the database. If I went to contacts, clicking on the contacts button over on the left, and I chose by company name.
Got it?
Yeah. Okay. I didn't have that earlier when I chose that.
Okay.
What happens if you always find yourself going to the same view under contacts or something, and you're just tired of having to pick it out of that list? Is there a shortcut for that, Mr. Bones?
Why, yes, there is. I'm so glad you asked. If you have a particular view that you prefer to use with each database, if you use the same one every time, there is a shortcut that you can create. The button's already there. What we can do with this little button off to the right with an arrow that has, or a target with an arrow pointing towards it, it's a shortcut button that you can customize. If my favorite view for companies is by name, then I can make it so that every time I click on that little shortcut button, it goes to companies by name.
Instead of giving you the list of all of the available views for that category.
To do that, up across the top, you have two tabs. You have a main tab and you have an admin tab. If you click on the admin tab, it gives you a new set of options here. And one of the options is user options, and that's what we want to look at. That's where you're going to find your options to edit the view shortcuts. You're finding that okay? Okay. So what we want to do is edit the view shortcuts and click OK. And it brings us into our view shortcut definition dialog box where we can set up what we want each of the views to be. If my favorite company view is by name, I click on the little button directly to the right of the words company view, and it brings up the list of the views available. So I choose by name. If my favorite contact view is by callback date personal, so then it's going to show all the callback information for just myself. So it'll be listed by date, and it'll only be my callback information.
A very valuable view if you're using the callback features.
And we can take a look at that after I switch this. We'll take a look at what that is exactly. Activity view. mean, these can be,
Yeah, they get the idea.
yeah, okay.
What's persistent?
It means it happens all the time, but what does it mean in the context of, I don't know. But I've never been able to figure out.
By definition, I
Yeah.
wanted to be
Yeah.
persistent.
Yeah, it does every
Well, check
time.
it, what the heck. No, also, there was another thing on the
I'll get
right-hand
back in
side of
there.
that about open in a new window. Some people really like to have separate windows. Rather than having everything in the notes window, you can actually, open the following views in a different window. So you can have multiple, basically you can have force open in multiple windows, if you like juggling multiple windows. Some people like that. I don't. But.
All right, so after you've set up your shortcut button, then when you return to the main tab on the left, this little button over next to the view is going to bring me to Company by Name, Contacts. This one is by date, my callbacks by date personal. So these are callbacks that I have to make. It doesn't give you the list of everyone's callbacks. And it looks like I have 4 set up here. I got to this one. This one is under Contacts. This is one that I set up as a shortcut button. But if you click on Contacts, you have by callback date personal. So those will be just the callbacks that you've personally scheduled.
So if you get in the habit of recording those callback dates and times for your various contacts, you can use this view as your main working nerve center as you do each day's tasks.
Yeah. Start up in the morning. Who do I need to contact today? Go to your callback personal, or callback by date personal.
And then using the exclamation point button there, as you make each call, you can quickly post a comment, set a new callback date, move on to the next one. So the combination of this view and that button really gives you a very manageable way to cycle through what your daily contacts that you've set up for yourself.
Okay. Let's get out of there. What else do we have to go through? We got the buttons.
How about the utility icons?
Okay. Have you taken a look at the utility buttons across the bottom here? The pluses and minuses and asterisks. The difference between these, the plus is basically an expand one level. It's the same as clicking on the little triangle next to an item. The minus is exactly the opposite, or it's the same, I guess, clicking on the triangle again to collapse that level in the outline. The asterisk here under utility is used to expand everything within that selected item. So if I have a company selected and I click on the asterisk, it's only going to expand everything within that company instead of the entire force database here. If I wanted to expand the entire force database, we've got the bold plus, and that expands everything within this database. And the bold minus is going to collapse everything within it. Okay, which view are you in right now? I'm in company by name. It depends on how many levels are in the hierarchy, what you're going to see.
I'm in by name as well.
Company by name.
Are you looking at a company that has lots of child documents?
Yeah, if it's a company that's just in there without anything under it, it's not going to be able to expand or collapse. But
Nice try, though.
Any way to make the little buttons as you put the arrow on top of them to tell you what they are?
Yep.
the smart icons?
There's a way to do that, yes.
That would be good.
Can you tell me later maybe?
No, it has to be programmed in.
Oh, okay.
Maybe the new release. And a word about the new release. There is a newer version of this product that the vendor produces. We just met with them on Friday, and we do plan to upgrade to the new version. It may be later in September that we actually get that done. We will let you know in advance. It doesn't present any major new features with the exception of a mail merge, mass mailing type feature, which is very nice, and we hope to implement that. The other thing that the new release does is it will make it easier if you are on the road and all you have is an internet connection. It will have us web enable force so that we hope to make it available on our internet servers so you can come in a secure way through authentication and get to Force just using a browser instead of your notes client. It's not the greatest, it may not be really super fast, but it will work. So would that be of real high interest to everybody, to have web access to Force in addition to the notes client stuff? Or do you find that in most cases you really want to, you're going to be in a situation where you will be using your notes client? The notes client will always be richer. There will be more features to access notes databases with a notes client than with a web client. In some cases, it doesn't provide full functionality, but
Well, I think we want it. I think we,
yeah.
I wouldn't pay millions for it.
I mean, the scenario there is, how in some airports now they have these internet terminals where you swipe your credit card and you get, a few minutes of internet time. Theoretically, with that combination, you don't have to boot up your laptop. You can just, type in your password information and then you'd be in, and then the bills automatically come to Enron. It's just great. What a deal, huh?
It's so easy.
Yeah.
Well, and you could be, at your customer's site, say, can I borrow your computer, and type it in.
Exactly. Yeah.
Before I leave, do you mind if I make a note of this in my database or something? Right?
Very nice. Yeah, that'd be a great demo of how cool we are.
And then again, easier to work, if you're coming in through the web, easier to work at home too if you wanted to get into Force. Would that be true as well? You wouldn't have to use your dial and connection if you've got web access.
Right, but keep in mind that one of the beauties of the Notes client is replication, which says, bring it all with me on my local machine, so when I'm not connected to the office, I've got all the data there. I can make changes and then dial up and synchronize them. The power of Notes replication for remote users is very, very high. It's a wonderful technique of getting you the information always with you without having that connectivity.
Have we set out to only replicate the accounts that we care about?
Yes. There is a selective replication feature where you can say, I only want to replicate records where field name equals, and we can help you set up those formulas. It's not something that people are doing, but you might want to say, I only want to see the Force companies for account manager this or region that. So, yeah.
Say, I think, as all of our groups, like Mitch, I'm sure we have a lot more types of customers, and we're going to have 2,000-3,000 customers in here. I'm sure you don't want to replicate all of
Right.
this stuff every time.
Yeah, very good question.
Barry, you plan on talking about the Palm Pilot scene?
Yeah.
It's up, running, and works.
Yeah, installed it this morning.
Right.
Oh, yeah, talk about that.
Well, let's make sure all the other topics are covered. Is there anything else that you wanted to? How much time do we have? Is Linda here?
We've got about
an overview of R5. Because I do have a question, maybe it's probably not totally appropriate, but this view here, on the home page kind of thing of R5,
right?
where you kind of show, like you had the calendar, you had
The desktop?
Yeah, the desktop.
Could
you put this in your desktop? This view?
I don't know. That's a great question.
So if you wanted this to be...
So you want to make that your welcome page and notes?
Yeah, like
you sure can.
Instead of the Enron homepage, I might have this.
You can. The process for that would be to click and drag. So if you have 4.6, it's not going to work for you right now, but by tomorrow afternoon, you will be able to do this with the Notes upgrade. I can go over that right now. If you click and drag this button from across the top of the screen over to your bookmark bar on the left, once the button's there, you can right-click on it and choose Set Bookmark as Home Page.
Cool.
And if I tell it OK, well, we might as well test out this process. So I'm closing down Notes. Bingo.
Yeah, we're not getting the navigator, though.
Well, I was kind of thinking not
He wants
just this be the
the
home page,
desktop.
but just on the desktop where
The
you can have
desktop
your
database.
calendar and your inbox and then this.
Oh, okay. I see what you're talking about. You're talking about...
We'll have to play with that.
Yeah,
You're talking about this screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By default, the fields that are built in here, I think you're limited. You only get a few items: database subscription, search, basic tasks, unless there was some way to customize that.
Let me play with that. That's a nice idea.
There, you have about 10 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's go back. What's that? As far as adding it to the bar on the left, it's just a click and drag. You take the button from the top of the screen and click and drag it over to your bookmark bar on the left and let it go. And it'll drop.
Yeah, I don't think you have R5.
Okay, yeah. Tomorrow,
It has to be R5.
yeah, we're going to get upgraded to Notes R5 tomorrow, and something that we'll go over tomorrow afternoon. I think you get to see me as the last thing as well tomorrow, so we'll go over R5. Oh, and look at the view that we've got here.
Yeah, that's the default view without the navigator, so
Okay.
that's not the greatest.
No. Okay.
So you need to close that. And, close that.
I'm gonna get out of this. I'm gonna make this my home
It's R5
page.
training and upgrades.
Okay, and then I'll go back into it.
Are we going to leave our computers here for you to upgrade those, Barry?
There. Okay.
Barry, are we going to leave our computers here?
I don't know how that's been organized.
Oh.
I think the desktop team has figured a time where you don't need your laptops for anything, any of the presentations that are going on. I think they're either going to come by today or tomorrow and start doing the upgrades or the installations, or they're going to haul them away for a short period of time and do the upgrades. Okay. Well, then why don't we go ahead and take a look at one last thing, and then we'll have a few minutes for some questions. And that is the new feature for your Palm Pilot. And this is something that Barry put together on last Friday. So I'll go in.
The basic problem is that GWI has their own little tool with a custom pilot conduit, is the term, for moving stuff between force, and that software is not compatible with the current version. So we were chatting, and then we came up with a little workaround. So how many of you have pilots? Just about everybody? Okay. And how many of you are syncing the memo pad section of your pilot with your notes journal database? Okay, does everybody know that that every notes user, you have a database called Journal that you can basically use as an all-purpose scrapbook. Anything you stick in that journal database can be synced over to the pilot. Well, I wrote a little bit of code that takes advantage of that, and Eric will show you that now.
Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and expand everything. I'm going to choose a few contacts here. The idea is that if you need those addresses to be put into your Palm Pilot, the first thing you need to do is go into your Force database and select the contacts that you want to have added.
From any view that shows contacts.
Yep, any view that shows contacts, and it's just a matter of clicking and dragging in this little strip on the left to select the contacts you want to add.
So you might want to go in the view by account manager or by region or whatever you want. So whatever view, just
by sales rep or
however, whatever makes sense to isolate your contacts.
Once you've selected the contacts, under your Actions menu, there's a Create Journal Records for Contacts option. It's right at the top of the list.
No, that wasn't there 2 hours ago. So.
No.
So if you're looking at a local copy and you haven't replicated since this morning, you won't see it yet, but you will. 7 contact records were added to your journals database, and then from there, let me just go into my journal on local. By default, when your Palm Pilots are set up and the sync is set up, your journal is set up by default to replicate over. And then this is the information that gets replicated. It looks like not much information in here. There wasn't an address. The company name shows up under title. Okay, here we go. This is one that has a little bit more information. It's got the city and state. It's got a phone. What I bring down is name, title, street address, city, state, phone number, fax number, email address.
How'd you get the screen?
Okay, this is the journal. I found this on my Mail tab. Let's see if I go back to my workspace. Under Mail, you've got Journal on local. I just double-clicked on that, and it brought me into this database. After I clicked on that button, these items were automatically entered into it. Okay, yeah, we can take a look at that.
Are you connected to the network? If not, that. Oh, okay. Did you see the option where it says Create Journal Records from Contacts?
Did you select the contacts first? Had little checks next to each of them?
you don't have any contacts selected. No, those are companies.
Yeah, it has to say contact and then the individual's name next to it in order for this to work.
Yeah. But, so let's expand all. We'll just do a bunch. Oops. So you just
Create.
Okay. And then when you say,
So is this something where you'd replicate this as well now?
and then if we just jump
This
over
actually doesn't need to be replicated. The idea behind this just gets synced to your Palm Pilot, and that's what this is created for.
Okay.
So this automatically gets
And so
synced,
then,
set up
so
by
the next time
default.
you sync your pilot,
If you wanted, if you're getting ready to go out of town again with this, what you would wind up, or what you would want to do is come back into your journal, select everything, and delete it.
yeah, we're not connected to them.
Once you've deleted it, then you would go back to
Yeah, they're replicated.
your Force database, select the new list of contacts. You probably don't need to have absolutely everyone in there on your trip out of town. So go in, select the contacts that you want to load on your Palm Pilot, and then go through this process again. So if I go in companies, no, this isn't. This is a workaround for that. Right now, there is no way to get it directly in there with the R4 templates that we're running, the Notes 4 templates, and then the software that GWI put together. There's some bugs. It's a pretty buggy piece of software. So this is a workaround that we have until we get the upgrade taken care of in Force. GWI has a piece of software that's set up for the Palm Pilot sync, and once that's done, you'll be able to go through. Right. Basically, that's what it's doing. It's copying it from your journal, and it's putting it into your memo on your Palm Pilot. So at least you do have the numbers and addresses available with you on your Palm Pilot when you're out of town.
Stay there
Until you clear them out, right. And so what you would wind up, or what you would want to do here then is come into, after you deleted out your journal, if you're getting ready to go out of town, you wanted a new list of addresses for this trip, come back in, select a new series of contacts, actions, create journal record, and now I'd have the new list. As soon as I synchronize with my Palm Pilot, those would show up in the memo on the Palm Pilot. Probably be more bells and whistles associated with the GWI, but this is something so you can have them with it for now.
That same code that I wrote that creates the journal records, I could just as easily jam them into your personal address book. Would you rather have them there?
versus memo pad, you're saying?
Yeah. I could send them either place.
Doesn't
Well,
matter?
so, work with it as it is now. This workaround will get that stuff onto your pilot, I guarantee. If you find that you'd rather, excuse me, have it in the address book section of your pilot, if that seems like that would be more convenient, let me know. And we'll play with that.
So how are we doing? Doing all right with any questions on anything? I know it's a lot of stuff to go over. I think almost everything we covered is going to be in the handout, with the exception of this new Palm Pilot feature that was added since I put the documents together for Force. Any questions on anything? You ready to be done?
Specific problem, we have a couple minutes after.
Okay, you bet. Absolutely. Yeah, I think we're going to have a few minutes before the next presentation starts, so that's not going to be a problem at all. Again, I want to make myself available. Anyone has any questions, feel free to contact me, whether it's giving me a call or sending me an email with a question. I certainly don't have all the answers, but if I don't have it, I can get it for you. I can find an answer for you.
Thanks a lot, Bree.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you.